When I was making two videos on Angry Birds talking about what the future will be and the history of it and this movement like hashtag Big Back 2012, which started in 2018 by Maximus Overdrive, the one thing that led to all of this is that all the classic Angry Birds like the original, Season, Rio, Star Wars, Space and many others in the early 2010s is now removed from App Store and Google Play Store. And since that happened, people were confused, angry, and the backlash behind all of this. Which then, in 2 years, Wario, the company creating Angry Birds, apologized on their website and made a statement on why the classic games are removed, saying that all these games are made by older technology and because of that, making updates of it is not gonna work, so they remove it. And then after that, they announced that the redevelopment of the original game they came in. And after that, we got Wario Classic Angry Birds in 2022, which got some money issues, bug issues, and then a few years, Wario used a Uno reverse card and removed it again. And now where we are today, Angry Birds was once the king of mobile games in 2010, is becoming a shell of its former self and copy other popular mobile gaming genres, from copying Candy Crush to copying Blockbuster, which yeah, that thing is not look great. However, the main question of all of this, the main question on the history, the downfall and the movement, the main question of all of this is why Wario removed the classic Angry Birds games. Well, the letter to the fan article said that they are made by older technology, so they just remove it. But one thing that doesn't make a lot of sense is that if Wario was thought that the classic Angry Birds was made by older technology that is over 10 years would work on modern technology and decided to remove it entirely, but what about Angry Birds Friends or Angry Birds Transformers or Bad Piggies? A game that made in 2012, the year of the peak of Angry Birds, is still work and still on the App Store and Google Play Store, except Bad Piggies that got removed a few years, but you get what I mean. There is something odd on what they talk about that bugs me when I'm making these two videos on Angry Birds and the future of what the franchise will look like. It is so odd that they redevelopment of the classic Angry Birds instead of just releasing it like Bad Piggies, for example. I was thinking on why they remove all the classic Angry Birds except Bad Piggies and Friends are removed from App Store and Google Play Store to this day. Maybe they were talking about the older technology. Maybe they remove it so we'll download these newer games that are microtransaction and ads that advertising the newer Angry Birds games. And so I started to believe that Wario removed the classic Angry Birds game just so for us to download the newer games that are over the views. That is until this happened. I posted a video on the Angry Birds subreddit, which is just a clip on the history of the movement of me ranting on Wario being a greedy thing, concluding the older technology thing that Wario talked about. I was gonna use that clip just on my new campaign, hashtag Respect Angry Birds, a movement that respects the source material of the original game to gain a lot of attention. There were comments on that video and a lot of views than my video on this channel you're watching right now. Come on, please watch that video, I beg you, because it's the history of the original movement and lesson of it. Please watch it and comment on it, please. And then the comment that strikes me. This user asked the detail of why Bad Piggies, a game that was made on older technology, was still on the App Store and Google Play Store, saying the reason why is that the game was made on Unity, unlike the other classic games. And if you don't know what Unity is, it's a gaming engine that used for developing a bunch of video games from console, PC, and mobile. And it's really popular for beginner gaming developers and a bunch more. Which then led me thinking of what I'm missing on my last two videos. Does other Angry Birds games that made on different engine that is not made on Unity, including the original, led to these games removed from App Store and Google Play Store? So I researching of the engine that the Angry Birds games was made that got removed. And where you know. So Unity, the one that Bad Piggies was injured by, is still using today, Even the garbage one the fans still like, which I guess explains why Bad Piggy is still work on the App Store and Google Play Store. And one of them I found was Box 2D, and the whole list of almost all the classic Angry Birds games they made. But later I found out that Box 2D was only used on physics engine. Side note, I am no expert on engineering. I use that info on other sources and people on Reddit talk about. Just when I gave up, I found this. The engine, I knew I mentioned the fuck. What is this? Fusion. So wait a minute. Warrior's introversion of KD 3D used for most of a Wario earlier Angry Birds games, early slingshot games, replaced with Unity to increasing popularity of the engine within the company. So we started in 2012, stopped on it, and then in 2004 this happened, and while developing while off the single reduced open source variant for other like books and other forms of online distributions. So they have two engines, so that was eventually in 2012, after using the engine heavily on the Angry Birds series, there was a decision to begin modernizing the engine, giving it a visual IEO rebrand as Fusion, a reference that to the fact that merged KD, 3D, and high core back together. And that's it. Unfortunately, the game upgrade proved to be effective, and the engine began to fall out of use in 2015 in favor of more popular Unity technology, a move that would be spearheaded by this dude. This is what all the classic Angry Birds games are used on Fusion. The original, the other ones, HD version of it, the free version, all of the what the hell is this one? Another one, seasons, and season in China, Rio stuff, I guess. So maybe this was you. They are still using that fusion from the early 2010s. This Friends, Space, I guess. Oh, Star Wars, I never got. Oh, Angry Birds Star Wars 2. So so they're still using it. It's 2013, I guess. Oh, Angry Birds Stella. So this is probably the last one they use on Fusion. Okay, so Fusion is a game engine made by Wario, which I guess was the engine that made the classic Angry Birds slingshot games from the original to Stella. Have you ever played Angry Birds Stella yet? No? Was it because it was made by a female audience? No? What about the show that based off it? Oh, it did get popularity, isn't it? Great, so the game started to secure for App Store and Google Play Store a few years after the release. Wonderful. And according to the Angry Birds Wiki, the engine got ineffective in 2015, which I guess because of that, they decided to replace it with Unity. That explains why Angry Birds Stella got removed a few years ago. Maybe Wario was telling the truth why all the classic Angry Birds was removed, because they were made by older technology, i.e. the fusion engine they made. I guess this is it. Wait, what about the other ones like Go and Epic? Are they using the same engine as Fusion? Hold on. Okay, wait. So this was made on different engine. Is that engine as the same path as Fusion? What? They still using that engine last year? What about Angry Birds Epic? Wait, what? Unity? The game was discontinued to this day. Okay, what about the other company that you collaborate with? Maybe they were bankrupt or they bought that property like Disney, for example? What? They're still around and not bankrupt and getting bought? Okay, what about Angry Birds Fight? Please don't be the same way as Angry Birds Go engine. Huh. Not that after since then. At least that's solved. Okay, what about the game that start up the genre of Angry Birds games with movie design? There is no info on what Angry Birds action game is what. What a bummer. Okay, so there is no information on why Rovio will remove all the classic Angry Birds games on the App Store and Google Play Store. The only confirmed reason on that question is that it was made on older technology, that because of the updates and bug issues, it won't work on modern technology. But even that were the case, then why not remove Bad Piggies or Angry Birds Friends? They are made by the older technology. But the only reason they are not on the same path as others is that the engine was different. The classic games, including the original, are made on Box 2D and Fusion, which is the engine that Rovio used before they replaced Unity, which is the same engine that Angry Birds Friends and Bad Piggies used to develop it. And the only reason I got was Fusion, which is the engine made by Rovio, which when I'm researching this is that the engine was ineffective and because of this were now replaced by Unity. Look, I am no expert on what the engine of the game is if I had more time on what the engine is. But what I know is that all the classic Angry Birds are made by Box 2D and Fusion. When I'm researching this engine, the only thing I see is that it's made on different engine. So here is my theory. If these versions are somehow malfunction or somehow not working properly as they go into obsolete, then somehow the classic Angry Birds, including the original, are suffering updates that are not working and some bug issues which Rovio in the apology article that said, which I guess explains why all the classic Angry Birds made by Fusion and Box 2D are now removed from App Store and Google Play Store. But one thing that doesn't explain is why they removed it, which explains this. This is the official Angry Birds comments in 2019, which was the year that they purged all the classic Angry Birds out on the App Store and Google Play Store, in which they explain on why they did it is that it was on test purposes. That was the only response we got before they responded the whole reason they did it in 2 years after. So if we're gonna use the test purposes and the article on why it was removed because of older technology, would that meant they test the Angry Birds games and decided they will remove it or they will remove it for test purposes? And that lead me on the engine thing. So they test the engine that stored the classic Angry Birds, and since that engine was becoming ineffective and not working properly, they decided to just remove it just so to move on with the new engine they use right now, which is Unity, which as of now, they use that engine to this day. Shocking, I know. But one thing I couldn't wrap my head around is that the other games they didn't talk about. Angry Birds Go and Angry Birds Epic, which is they using different engine. The other one has, the other one hasn't. But one confusing part is that Angry Birds Epic was made on Unity, which is confusing when I researched this. Remember, this game was removed like other classic Angry Birds in 2019, and to this day, they're still not on the App Store and Google Play Store, which is so confusing. How is a game that could still work on modern technology and says that other modern Angry Birds games is still not on the App Store and Google Play Store? The other one I could find is the collaboration, which maybe I thought would be bankrupt or getting bought by large companies like Disney was to Star Wars and Rio, but no, they still acted and not bought by large company, which make me confused right now. So a game made on Unity, not around on the App Store and Google Play Store? What the hell? Or am I missing something that the collaboration are not going well? I'm just saying. Not to mention when I researched the engine, I only found 4 engine, Box 3D, Fusion, Extended, and Unity. But one thing I do find is Unity, which left me behind, is still operational, and I am no way a gaming engineer, so it might take is it correct? That's why. Let me know in the comments to what this engine is. So Box 2D is the first engine that will be used, which was the engine that the original Angry Birds was made. Then somehow Fusion came along, with which the engine will be used that also made on the original Angry Birds games. But one thing I could find is that Box 2D is only used on physics engine, so Box 2D is just a minority. That leads to Fusion, which was the engine that will be used for the classic Angry Birds slingshot games like the original, Rio, Season, Space, Star Wars, and the console version that include, with the last one is Angry Birds Stella. And by reading the Angry Birds wiki is that the engine was interrupted after upgrading them and decided to move Unity. So if you use that article that the old games was removed because of older technology, what they meant is that engine for a few years, like Fusion, is either go from ineffective and fall out of favor from storage, and in that replacing the new engine is Unity. And having a classic Angry Birds with the Fusion on it that either will move or out of favor could be very difficult for updating them, so they just remove it entirely out from the App Store and Google Play Store. But when I researched this, I thought the classic Angry Birds games that have Fusion on it was the reason why they removed it. But no, the only game that hasn't is Angry Birds Go and Angry Birds Epic, which has 2 engines, Unity and Extended, which besides Unity, Extended is still used and still operational. And one thing I found is Extended does not only have Angry Birds Go on it, but also using Angry Birds Trilogy like the console version of the classic Angry Birds games, also Angry Birds Star Wars, Angry Birds Transformers, and most recently Angry Birds Fury Road, which is just Angry Birds Go but on arcade. What give you a judge on that same engine? This is so confusing. We have 2 Angry Birds games made by the engine that's still operational and got removed? What? We see Bad Piggy got revived because of Unity that's still operational, but not Angry Birds Go and Angry Birds Epic that use the engine that's still operational? Why? Is it because of this? Or that it was too much stories that look like this? Tell me, Romeo. Which then lead me to the elephant in the room, the redevelopment of the classic Angry Birds games, which is a game made on Unity and it got removed to this day. What? So we got Bad Piggies that got removed and then a few years got revived because of Unity, but not this? Why? Not to mention you can still find it on my Google Play Store feed, but when you got it, this is what you get. What a scam of what this franchise has become. This is a big waste of developing this. You have developed this thing since you announced it of the Legendary Chronicle, and now a few years later, you remove it entirely. What is wrong, Romeo? The downfall of Angry Birds is the perfect case study on how not to treat your franchise. You could tell that Romeo does not care of Angry Birds as a whole, from removing the classic games and the golden goose of what they came from, to just not knowing what the original came from, to the fact that they redeveloping of the game working on modern technology and Uno reverse it and remove it from App Store and Google Play Store. This whole thing is what lead Angry Birds into its downfall, with all of these games that are still on the App Store and Google Play Store are open reduced, in-app purchases and ads into it. Greed is the main thing that happened, and they really shoot themselves in the foot because of what the action of they did to the franchise. To be honest though, I am not hating on Angry Birds, nor am I hating the company they created besides the CEO. I've been a fan of this since the peak of Angry Birds and enjoyed all the classic Angry Birds games. I have enjoyed all modern Angry Birds as I played them when I was running the script, which despite the microtransactions and ads, still tried to do the original format of what the classic Angry Birds ads is. And that includes the classic games that are still on the App Store and Google Play Store. But after all the stuff that happened in the last few years and the decision of it is one thing that this franchise is going to decline. The fact that they still haven't learned from their mistake is the one thing. The king of mobile games in the 2010 is becoming a king of nothing, from making terrible games to developing it to remove all the classic games from the history to the fact they redeveloping the original game for modern technology and supporting the fans and then go remove it from it. These videos I'm making in the last few months and the campaign I plan for is to call up OBO and the greedy tactic they done in the last few years, just so they understand how they're gonna fix this franchise they caused and learning from their mistake. Because for the last few years, the franchise is going down in a very hard time, and if OBO keep doing this same mistake over and over again, we will see Angry Birds becoming irrelevant and that this franchise will be just a lot of mediocre modern mobile games. And it's hard for the general audiences and the newer fans to care of Angry Birds as other gaming genres before. We want Angry Birds to be like other gaming genres and respecting the source material of the original they came in from. We don't want to see Angry Birds to be another mediocre modern mobile games like this. We want to see this franchise going down the path like Mario, Sonic, and Pokemon, but that is not the case if you remove all the classic Angry Birds games removed from history using microtransactions in our purchases and ads into it, and using AI to develop this game. This goes to show greed was the main reason that happened. We don't want this to happen, just stop it, okay? We want Angry Birds to be respectful and getting good quality games, and do not repeat the same thing. And that is exactly why I am planning this hashtag and remove it as a whole, just so we want Angry Birds to be on the path as other gaming genres before. We don't want this becoming the next mediocre mobile game. I am not gonna see this happen in a few years. Just stop it. Move on. You know, since I am making the history of the last campaign, I was wondering how a movement got massive since then and got referenced in the official trailer of the redevelopment of the original game, and then the promise fall out. A movement was to bring back the original they came in at its peak, but that promise faded when they didn't listen, and since then, the hashtag of that was becoming a waste of it. This is something we're making the history of this movement. I want our new campaign to not go the path as the last campaign. If we tell Romeo and Sega to respect the original property and making good quality games that based off the original, then I think the fans of the original garner massive support and gain their trust as it should. But after this, we need some skepticism of the company they support our campaign. And if they do the exact same thing as the last one, the fans will lose faith in this franchise. We are not gonna lose faith of this franchise. Even if Romeo don't listen to us, we fight back. We will never surrender to the company that was disrespecting the source material of their game. No, never. And that is exactly why I am planning on a new hashtag called hashtag respect Angry Birds. Our campaign was to respect the source material of the original game they started. We want this franchise as other gaming genres like this, and we don't want the game to be on the path as other modern mediocre mobile games like Voodoo, for example. Help us. So if you want to support this campaign, then please type hashtag respect Angry Birds and hashtag BigBack2012 because it's the only thing to get Angry Birds back at its success. And also that planned video I link is in the description. Please don't fight today to get Angry Birds to be respectful. And if you want more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and turn the notification on so you don't miss the new video I'm currently working on. And if that doesn't do, follow me on X or Twitter if you don't use the trolls that you despise, posting Angry Birds news and retweeting of the current Angry Birds and the announcement. Links to that is in the description. A big shout out to the Angry Birds subreddit and the user that says that when I was researching this for this video, I could have made that video if it wasn't for the user on the subreddit that explained this. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and please join the flock today for Angry Birds to be respectful. Hashtag respect Angry Birds and hashtag bring back 2012.